Hello everyone and welcome to episode 3 of my Tauren Hunter level 1 through 60, but probably not going to make it to 60 Let's Play series in the hardcore version of a World of Warcraft Classic. Where last episode we spent a lot of time exploring Mulgore here, and we have basically completed every single quest here in Mulgore that we can do at like this level, and we are going to go ahead and begin a new adventure where we are going to the Barrens. So we are going to have to make a little bit of a journey, but I want to do a couple of things before we leave, and one is to kind of go over the hunter specializations because I didn't really talk about them last episode. Where if we come into our talents menu here, I'll just start off on the right side. We have survival, which is a kind of interesting hunter spec in the old version of World of Warcraft, and it's kind of oriented towards a melee hunter, but it's not like really generally considered like the best spec in the game. But I've been playing it on another hunter character in hardcore because like survival I thought it would be like fitting, and I've never really played it before, and I've enjoyed it like a decent amount. Where I believe like one of the most popular, or like the most popular, it's like either first or second place basically. We have marksmanship, which is like really straight standard DPS, shoot things with your bow or gun, deal damage. And then we have beast mastery, which is like either the most popular or like second most popular. Survival's in third place basically, where this is basically really just kind of like empowering our pet to do a lot of stuff. And I've decided, since I've done a long marksmanship playthrough, not on the Let's Play series, but just like by myself, I decided I would do beast mastery, since I've also been doing a survival playthrough on my other hunter that I've done on like streams and whatnot, where we can go ahead and like go through the hunter tree and work towards getting bestial wrath, which will send your pet into a rage, causing 50% additional damage for 18 seconds. While enraged, the beast does not feel pity or remorse or fear, and it cannot be stopped unless killed, which is really interesting. But we have a ton of like different fun things that we can go ahead and unlock. Which, speaking about my pet, I asked one of my fiance's sisters what I should name the pet, and I got a list of like 8 different things. So I just picked one of those things, and I'm going to rename our Toss Strider to Majestic. So we have Majestic, the Toss Strider here, and I don't think we can rename it. So this is permanent locked in. I'm glad I didn't misspell it. I spelled correctly, right? Okay, it is spelled correctly. You just like look at it and it like looks wrong, but it's like the right name. But I think that's kind of fun. Where one additional thing that I want to point out is we have our talent tree here, which is the talent tree that we see in World of Warcraft Classic, and it basically stays like this but gets like added onto in the Burning Crusade and the Wrath Lich King, and then it gets changed in Cataclysm and the Mist of Pandaria and like basically every expansion after that. But in the earliest versions of World of Warcraft, in the alpha version of the game, the talents looked a little bit different, where basically you got points, and then you could spend the points to buy like different things, and you got points by like leveling up, and I think from like quest rewards too, or something like that, you would get points that you could spend talents on, and it was like a very specific like menu that then evolved into this. But that old system still kind of exists in the game for beast training, where we have this panel right here, which is basically what the panel was like in like the alpha version of the game, and you get points from like your pet leveling up and stuff, and you can spend that point or training points to get different abilities. And I think there will be passive stuff here in the future. We currently have 27, and we have to go to beast trainer, which I'll go right over here really quickly. We have our pet trainer. We can go ahead and chat with him, and then we can buy things like great stamina here, natural armor, better great stamina, natural armor, and that looks like that is everything that we can do. And then we can come into beast training here, and we can go ahead and spend our training points on this to make our pet stronger. And I think if we then come to our pet tree here, we can see natural armor increased by 100, great stamina increased by 5, and then we have our active abilities here on our bar, which is pretty cool. But now that I am done with all the stuff in Mulgore, I'm going to go ahead and head out to the Barrens, which the Barrens, as we know, is like in a level 11 to like level 25/30 zone, and it is a massive zone that is basically the second zone in the game for Taurens, Trolls, and Orcs, and also a lot of undead players come to the Barrens as well, and it also has like neutral quests that Alliance can come and do. So it's just a very, very big zone, but it is also a zone that has like a very wide level range, where in the Southern Barrens, the mobs around there are a little bit tougher than the mobs in like the Central Barrens and then like outside of the Central Barrens, where we as level 13 Tauren have to be very careful about how we exit out of Mogor and get towards the crossroads. And it's relatively a safe journey. Most of the time you shouldn't have anything that will bother you as long as you stick to the road, but we need to be really careful as we get to the crossroads, because we don't want to die to like a level 20 beast, or there's like a pack of 4 alliance outrunners that are like level 25 elites. We need to be careful like all those, and we need to make sure that we don't die. But of course we have Mogor here, and if you look behind us we have Bloodhoof Village, and then way over there in the distance we have Thunder Bluff. And we can go ahead and exit out of Mogor, which is a really cool like zone transition, because we have the plains of Mogor here that is a grassy, basically like cattle range if you think about it, and then we can transition by going up the mountain over here, or like hill, or like whatever, and we can exit out of the green plains into the brown plains of the Barrens, where it's a little bit more dry and it is a little bit more dangerous for us. But of course, the Horde have an outpost in the Southern Barrens that is right on the border with Mogor called Camp Trollhole, and we can go ahead and seek refuge in this camp, and we can go ahead and get the flight path there so we can fly back to it without having to run back south from the crossroads. So it's kind of like a nice thing to be a Tauren going this way, because once you get to the crossroads you can just fly back to Thunderbluff, compared to like any of the other 3 factions where you then have to journey to Thunderbluff. But likewise we'll then have to journey to Orgrimmar and then to like the Undercity as a Tauren character. So we were kind of isolated over here, but then we can like make the journey over there, and like vice versa in a way. But we are now in the Barrens, and I'm going to be very cautious about any monsters around us. But we do have Camp Trollhole right over here. There's a level 18 Hecklefang Snarler, and my computer is screaming at me for some reason, but we can go ahead and seek refuge over here, where my biggest concern is the Alliance Outrunners, because they will definitely ruin our day. And I just need to be a little bit careful about the beasts. And once we start heading a little bit further north, we can go ahead and start seeing like easier mobs, lower level mobs. But we have the Flight Master right here, and we're now connected to Thunder Bluff. And then we have a quest over here that we can go ahead and pick up called Journey to the Crossroads, and we have 2 other quests that is taking us to the Crossroads. So we now have a total of 3. There is a higher level Tauren right there, but let's go ahead, exit out of Camp Trollhole to the east here, and let's go ahead and take the road to the north, where basically this is the hardest part of our journey here in the Barrens. And by hardest part, it's not that difficult, because most of the time none of the beasts wander too close to the road, but we should still just be cautious, you know, just in case. Where for the most part it is in fact beasts that are here in like this general area of the road, but there are also like some quill boar that are like kind of close that we should be careful of, and then those Alliance Outrunners. But since we have track beasts, we can see them all on our mini map there, which is kind of nice, and then we can go ahead and run this way. But of course the Barrens, and then a lot of Kalimdor like Stone Talon Mountains and Ashen Vale and the Thousand Needles are all zones that we are currently exploring in the Season of Discovery on my Orc Shaman character. And the zones further down the line are zones that I will be exploring in the Season of Discovery. So basically what we are doing right now in this Let's Play series is kind of the same exact thing as my Orc Shaman Let's Play series. We're kind of overlapping now and doing the same content, because I have completed Mogor now in the last 2 episodes, and we have completed that zone and we've explored everything to do in that zone. And that was really like the biggest mission that I had for this Let's Play series, was to complete that zone and to basically like explore the hunter a little bit, which I cared a lot about, like looking at the pet and then like the early gameplay, where basically as we progress through the game it is going to be like the same gameplay. There's Macrick's wife over there, but we can go ahead and just kind of like push further into the game. And what I'm basically going to do for the next several episodes is to just continue exploring the world, but in a very kind of like fast-paced like style of video, where I'm basically going to play maybe like upwards of like 20 hours per episode and condense it down to like 30 to 60 minutes or whatever for each episode. And I'm not going to talk too much about like what we're doing on the road, but we can just highlight some more of like the fun things in the hardcore version of the game and the road as well, because pretty much everything that I'm going to be doing is the same exact thing as my orc shaman character from here on out. So basically, like all the different zones we'll be exploring, I've explored or will explore in depth on my orc shaman character. So I'm basically at the start of each episode here on out, I'm going to record for like an hour of just gameplay, and then from there on out I'm just going to like clip cool moments and stuff like that, where, you know, if something cool happens, if we have a near death experience, if we're like about to level up, I'll clip that and we can like explore some stuff like that in the background of my videos, where I don't want to record like 20 hours of like World of Warcraft footage, because that's like 500 gigabytes of like video space, and you know, I need space to work on other videos and stuff. Where I'm going to be trying to get to like level 60, but I'm not going to give it my 100%, so we're likely to die before level 60, but I'll give it like my 85, 90, 80, 90%, like something around that, where I'll be definitely putting in an effort to get to level 60, and it'll be cool if you get to level 60, but from here on out, we're kind of just exploring this character that we are playing. And as we do that, I want to talk about a lot of different things, where I have a lot of plans for things that I could talk about. And the first thing that I want to do, depending on like however many episodes we have in this series, and then maybe in future series as well, I want to start talking about basically the story summaries of each World of Warcraft expansion, and I'll probably just go over vanilla as well, just so we have like the complete collection. So as we explore the road here, I kind of just want to read the story summaries for each expansion up to the current expansion, so we can kind of just see what's going on in the World of Warcraft up towards the modern day version of the game, and hopefully that is something interesting. And then once we get to the current expansion, we can go ahead and start reading some other stuff as well and exploring some other parts of the World of Warcraft. But as I've said like a few times now, I'm just going to be progressing towards level 60. If you get there, that is cool, but we're just going to have a good time along the way, because basically everything that I'm going to be doing on this character here on out is stuff I have done or will be doing in other Let's Play series, because I've covered all the unique stuff that there is to do with a Tauren and a Hunter. So there's a summary of the last like 5 minutes, 10 minutes of talking. But here is the crossroads, which we know very well, and it is the central point here in Kalimdor, and we didn't get attacked by any monsters. And we can go ahead and just run around this place, and we can go ahead and pick up quests, turn in quests, do stuff like that. And I am a little intimidated by the Barons, because I have lost 2 Let's Play characters so far in the Barons. One over here when I was fighting like the Centaur boss up here, and I was like level 14, I think. I'm gonna go ahead and set my home here to the crossroads. And then I lost level 16 down here, where I killed a Baron Longshore, and then I was like trying to get like the shipment of boots or lenses or whatever from like the southernmost camp, and like he spawned there. So then I tried to like fight him again, but then there was like 2 others, and then like I was like trying to run, but then like I couldn't get away. But you know, I clipped them, and I'll be showing them in a future video for anyone who is interested about that. We have a Night Elf Elder right here, which is very interesting. Let's go ahead and get our flight path here. So we are now connected to Thunderbluff and to Camp Traho, and I'll probably run to Orgrimmar sometime soon to get to that flight path. We have a couple of riding wolves that are over here drinking some water, and next to the stable master that we could pull Kaizen out of if you wanted. And Kaizen is a level 8 wolf, and Majestic is a level 12 Toss Rider, because we like tame the wolf and then we put it away, and then we've had our Toss Rider out with us. This is a unique quest right here for the Tauren, where basically as like an orc character, we came over here and we got like a shipment of meat to take to Orgrimmar. We have a shipment of hides that we can take to Thunderbluff, which we need to talk to the Wind Rider Master, and it's basically just like the tutorial for like flight paths and stuff like that. Here's Darsock, Swift Dagger. I can go ahead and pick up that quest. And now I have quite a few quests, and I can go to Ratchet and pick up quests. And then we have a bunch of quests all around the Barrens. And I could come to Durotar and do some like easier level quests if you wanted, which maybe I'll go like pick up Conscript of the Horde, and we can go to Orgrimmar and stuff like that. But I'm basically just gonna let the game take me forward, and we can go ahead and just level up as best as we can, and we can explore parts of the world. And I hope you all enjoy that as we do that. So let's go ahead and get started. Starting off, we have the World of Warcraft straight plain old vanilla, where I just want to go over like the quick plot ideas and like the main topics and like maybe like the areas we go to in the world for each of the expansions. 4 years after the Battle of Mount Hyjal, tensions between the Alliance and the Horde begin to arise once again. Intent on settling the arid region of Durotar, Thrall's new Horde expanded its ranks, inviting the undead Forsaken to join orcs, taurens, and trolls. Meanwhile, dwarves, gnomes, and the ancient night elves pledged their loyalties to a reinvigorated alliance guarded by the human kingdom of Stormwind. After Stormwind's king Varian Wrynn mysteriously disappeared, High Lord Bolvar Fordragon served as regent, but his service was marred by the manipulations and mind control of the Black Dragon Onyxia, who ruled in disguise as a human noblewoman. As heroes investigated Onyxia's manipulations, ancient foes surfaced in lands throughout the world to menace Horde and Alliance alike. Where of course this part of the game takes place in the Eastern Kingdoms and Kalimdor, and the stories of vanilla are very like a bunch of like pretty big stories that are completely separate from one another, and there's not like a huge major plot point that goes all throughout vanilla, where of course we deal with Onyxia, and we deal with Ragnaros, and we deal with Nefarian, and we deal with Akraji, and we deal with Zul'Gurub, and then we deal with Naxxramas and Kel'Thuzad. But then we have World of Warcraft's first expansion, the Burning Crusade, where the quests in the Burning Crusade are set in continuity with original lore quests, meaning the expansion is the direct sequel to the original World of Warcraft. Some quests set in Outland, especially those that are related to Illidan, mention a 5-year hiatus in the story, which suggests a 1-year interval between the Burning Crusade and the original game. The expansion introduces Outland, the former world of Draenor, and numerous quests inviting players to explore the world on their own. The main storyline points to Illidan the Betrayer and what happened to him during the last 4 years. Players can also complete quests that involve either aiding Illidan or making preparations for his downfall. In addition, there are many links between the former world of Draenor and the current Outland, such as the opening of the Dark Portal by Medivh, which is relived in the Caverns of Time, and various quest chains which provide insight into the history of the old Orcish shamans and their relationship with Burning Legion long before the First War. The Burning Crusade also centers on the 2 new playable races and their affiliation to the game's storyline. Many plot holes are filled with quests that align the Blood Elves with the Horde and the Draenei with the Alliance. As such, players still must complete quests in the Old World to fully understand the lore related to Outland, where Outland again focuses on a lot of different stories, and that's kind of just like a general vibe with each expansion, where I'm probably going to talk less and less about each like expansions, like other stories as we go forward. But the Burning Crusade does focus a lot on Medivh, where we have Karazhan, and then we focus on a few different raids around Outlands, most of which are related to Illidan, who is like the main antagonist of the expansion up until the final patch, where we see that Kil'jaeden is kind of like the final boss of the Burning Crusade expansion, with him trying to unleash the Burning Crusade. But after that, we move into the Wrath Lich King expansion, where for years, the heroes of the Alliance and Horde have fought against the evils in Kalimdor and the Eastern Kingdoms, against the demons of the Burning Legion in Outland, and against each other, all the while unaware that a threat more dangerous than any they had yet encountered was preparing to make its move in the icy continent of Northrend. Now, the Lich King, Arthas Menethil, has emerged from Ashran Citadel to claim the world as his own. Heroes of the Alliance and Horde gather in Northrend to make a stand against a malevolent being that dares to declare himself Azeroth's one true king and seeks to scour all life from the world. Where Wrath Lich King quite aptly revolves around the Lich King and is the end of Arthas' story, but there's a lot of story revolving around the dragon flights in this expansion as well, and then also with some of the ancient lore of Azeroth and World of Warcraft related to the Titans and the Keepers, where we have Ojar and Yogg-Saron and some stuff related to all of that. And a very notable part of the Wrath of the Lich King expansion is the introduction of the Death Knight hero class to the game, where there is a lot of story that revolves around the Death Knights, both in the Eastern Kingdoms and then in Northrend as well, where you can play as a Death Knight and kind of engage in like stories there, and then move forward and engage in stories with everyone else out in the world. And then we have the Cataclysm expansion. An ancient evil lies dormant within Deepholm, the domain of Earth and the elemental plane. Hidden away in a secluded sanctuary, the corrupted dragon aspect Deathwing has waited, recovering from the wounds of his last battle against Azeroth, and biding his time until he can reforge the world in molten fire. Soon, Deathwing the Destroyer will return to Azeroth, and his eruption from Deepholm will sunder the world, leaving a festering wound across the continents. As the Horde and Alliance race to the epicenter of the Cataclysm, the kingdoms of Azeroth will witness seismic shifts in power, the kindling of a war of the elements, and the emergence of unlikely heroes who will rise up to protect their scarred and broken world from utter devastation. Where with the Cataclysm expansion we see the Eastern Kingdoms and Kalimdor completely change with completely brand new stories, where all of the stories that we have interacted with in this Let's Play series basically no longer exist in Cataclysm, as there are brand new stories across each of the zones. And I am probably never going to go through every single story in Cataclysm, and I'm probably going to barely touch the stories in Cataclysm, where we won't be going through every single story in Classic WoW because there's just like too many stories to go through, and I'm just not super interested in looking at every single one. And like same thing with the Burning Crusade and Wrath of the Lich King, we're just kind of taking like a quick look at all these different expansions as I like play through the game in my Let's Play series and like on my streams and whatnot. But starting with Cataclysm, I'm definitely not planning on spending a ton of time in Cataclysm in the future. Of course, we have Cataclysm Classic releasing soon, so I'll probably be spending a little bit of time there just like hanging out and doing a few things and kind of highlighting some stuff, and then we will be spending a little bit of time in my Let's Play series there as well. But Cataclysm also saw the introduction of both the Worgen to the Alliance and the Goblins to the Horde, which is very, very cool. And then we have Mists of Pandaria. Shrouded in fog since the world was sundered more than 10,000 years ago, the ancient realm of Pandaria has remained unspoiled by war. Its lush forests and cloud-ringed mountains are home to a complex ecosystem of indigenous races and exotic creatures. It is the homeland of the enigmatic Pandaren, a race that celebrates life to the fullest, even while under siege by an ancient menace. The new continent reveals itself to a broken road just as the Alliance and Horde are spiraling ever closer to a war that will consume all of Azeroth. Will the Mists of Pandaria part to reveal the world's salvation, or will the battle to control this rich and breathtaking new land push the two mighty factions over the brink of war and into total annihilation? The answers await within Pandaria's mysterious shores. The storyline for Mists of Pandaria was split into multiple patches, a storytelling method not used before. The story arc that introduces Pandaria, introducing the continent, tasking the adventurers to solve problems and figure out what happened for the past 10,000 years and why, was included entirely within the initial expansion release. Later chapters in the storyline brought the war between the Horde and Alliance back into focus, including changing parts of Pandaria via phasing to show additional settlements, and eventually returning the players back to the rest of the world for a final showdown with Garrosh Hellscream, where Mists of Pandaria is the final expansion that I played in World of Warcraft. And like the ending of Mists of Pandaria I never experienced live because I quit in like 5.3 I think, where 5.4 is like the final big patch. And then all the stories going here on out are stories that I did not experience. Where Mists of Pandaria did really focus on all these things, and also focused on the Mogu and Lei Shin and like some Zandalari stuff going on. Focused a lot on the Shah, but really focused on Garrosh Hellscream. But the delivery of Mists of Pandaria's story was really interesting because it was kind of like the start of transitioning how story was told in World of Warcraft from the old days into the new days, where I think Mists of Pandaria is kind of like that transition point where the story and how it is introduced to us nowadays, and like Dragonflight for example, exists because of what happened during Mists of Pandaria and how the systems changed, which is kind of interesting. And one final additional thing about Mists of Pandaria is that they also introduced the Pandaren race to the game that could join either the Horde or Alliance, which was really cool. But also a lot of people didn't like this race in the game as well, and I'm kind of indifferent. Whereas we have just finished talking about Mist of Pandaria, and before we go into Warlords of Draenor, I thought this would be a nice time, since I kind of ended the game in Mist of Pandaria, and Warlords of Draenor is the first expansion that I didn't experience until I came back to it a little bit later. But I wanted to take a moment to hop onto my Night Elf Druid character in Wrath of the Lich King Classic, which will soon become Cataclysm Classic. Which this is a character that if you watched my Night Elf Druid Let's Play series, that was my last hardcore series, I kind of hopped onto this character and played it a little bit in episode 3 of that series, where I wanted to take a quick moment to kind of just highlight a random part of the road in this random episode where we are in Fairless and we have the Twin Colossus right here, which is an area that we've kind of been to in our Human Mage Let's Play character. We went right past here, and we have not yet been to in our Orc Shaman Let's Play or on this Tauren Hunter Let's Play series, but that is something to look out for in the future, where I want to take a quick moment to just take a look at an area that I'm probably never really going to go more in depth other than in this episode, and that is one of the 5 great trees, where we talked a lot about the great trees in my Night Elf Druid Let's Play series, and I kind of just want to run over here, where this is an elite area where we see that there are a ton of elite enemies right there of the green dragonflight, the emerald dragonflight I think they're called, or they're just the green dragonflight, where we have one of the great trees here, which I forget the name of, and if you get close enough we will be able to see it, and maybe I can climb up here. There we go. Oh, they're right there. Oh, I'm so dead. Let's just get over here and kind of just experience this a tiny bit, and where of course this is kind of like on an island and they're just staring at me. Okay, I don't know why I'm doing this, and I don't know why I'm doing it in this episode, but I thought it would be fun. Where of course in vanilla World of Warcraft there is a road boss that spawns here, and players can fight the road boss, and you don't see it happen too much in hardcore WoW, but we have Jademere Lake right here, and as we get close here we have Dreambow, I forget which pronunciation of it is, but we have this portal here that we cannot use, and I don't think you can really ever use it except maybe if you're a druid in like the Legion expansion or something. But this is a portal into the Emerald Dream, and this is just kind of a cool area of the road where you see that there is a lot of like Night Elf ruins around here, and then this really cool spot. And that is all. I hope you enjoyed this little excursion on our Night Elf character right here. But then we have Warlords of Draenor. It is the era of an old horde, forged with steel rather than fell blood, a union of great orc clans. The Iron Horde tramples the planet Draenor beneath terrifying war machines. Azeroth falls next. Worlds uncounted will follow. You must mount a desperate charge on Draenor, savage home of orcs and adopted bastion of historic Draenei at this pivotal moment. Your allies are legends from across time, your fortress a foothold in an alien land. Lead the armies of one world against another before the future itself is unmade. Following the events of Siege of Orgrimmar, Garrosh Hellscream was imprisoned to be tried in Pandaria. Before the trial can conclude, aided by an ally who can manipulate the timelines, Garrosh escapes to Draenor of the past and prevents the orcs from ever drinking the blood of Manroth, creating an untainted Iron Horde under the leadership of Garrosh Hellscream. For both Horde and Alliance players, the campaign starts behind the lines in the Tanaan jungle on Draenor. It's up to the player and their allies on preventing the seemingly impossible Iron Horde from wreaking havoc in Draenor and eventually to Azeroth. Once on Draenor, adventurers will face the might of great orc warlords such as Garrosh Hellscream and Kilrog Deadeye, legends who command a legion of 10,000 orcs from Draenei's united clans. But you won't have to take on this desperate mission alone. The ancient Draenei champion and Vindicator Maraud from Wrath of the Lich King will accompany the Alliance's expedition for the portal, while the Horde's faction rallies behind Thrall. Your strike on Draenor is practically a suicide mission, but if you can destroy the portal from the other side, you'll buy your faction and Azeroth some much needed time. All level 90 players will begin in the Tanaan jungle pre-Hellfire Peninsula, and for newly boosted level 90 players, the questline will be edited to help you get up to speed and ready for taking on the challenges to come. Also for boosted 90s, instead of gaining all your skills and abilities right away, you'll be able to unlock them as you progress and learn your way around your more powerful character, and you'll need every ounce of your ability to stop the Iron Horde and continue your campaign on Draenor. Once the threat of the Dark Portal has been temporarily dealt with, Alliance and Horde players will go their divergent paths. Each will answer the call of their new allies to engage the native threats of the world and mount a long-term defense against the Iron Horde. In the aftermath of the Dark Portal strike, Alliance players will be led to pre-Black Temple, otherwise known as Kalimdor, in search of allies to face the Iron Horde. Once there, you and other travelers will work together to save the Draenei Holy Temple and turn it into a capital city for your faction. Stay alert though. While the Iron Horde lays siege to the temple, Ner'zhul and his nefarious Shadowmoon Orc clan pursue another line of attack that could put the entire world in mortal danger. Following the assault on the Dark Portal, Horde players will be led to Frostfire Ridge and the aid of the Frostwolf clan. Once there, you will battle the Ogres of Bladespire Fortress to secure a new base of operations in this harsh land. Don't be fooled by your progress though, the Thunderlord clan will be right on their heels to reclaim their lands. After arriving on Draenor, Garrosh encounters the Timeline's Orc clans and apparently shares with them some knowledge of the course of future events as well as technology from the original timeline, far outstripping the Orcs' relative primitive technology. After encountering Gul'dan during his transformation, Garrosh is able to persuade his father, Grommash Hellscream, not to drink Mannoroth's blood, but instead to prepare a technologically empowered army in order to ambush the Pit Lord Mannoroth and overthrow the Burning Legion's efforts to enslave the Orcs. Garrosh goes with Grommash to the gathering of the Orc clans in response to Gul'dan's summons to imbibe the demon's blood. Grommash accepts the drinking horn from the Warlock, but at the last moment refuses to drink it, pouring the glowing blood onto the floor and incurring the wrath of Mannoroth. With the Pit Lord revealed, at Garrosh's signal, the hidden Iron Horde bursts forth, firing ballistae and chains at Mannoroth. The Orcs prepare to launch an Iron Star to destroy Mannoroth, but the mighty demon quickly overcomes their attempts to trap him and begins to lay waste to the Orc army. Grommash, seeing his chance to defeat the Pit Lord, seizes the now unmanned Iron Star and single-handedly launches it at the demon, but the projectile falls short, its explosion serving only to rebuff and anger the Pit Lord. As Mannoroth prepares to strike afresh at the Orcs, Grommash soars out of the fire and smoke, leaping through the explosion to drive Gorehowl directly into the Pit Lord's forehead. As the Pit Lord's death howl begins to build for a devastating explosion, a stunned Garrosh picks himself up off the ground and dives for his father, pulling him out of harm's way before the demon can destroy him, again altering the path of history. With the Legion's plot foiled, Gul'dan is imprisoned and the Iron Horde revealed, Grommash proclaims a glorious future for their people, with Gul'dan's original plans to invade Azeroth repurposed to suit the Iron Horde. We're following Warlords of Draenor, we have the Legion expansion, where the Tomb of Sargeras has been reopened and the demons of the Burning Legion pour into our world. Their full, terrifying might is fixed on summoning the Dark Titan to Azeroth, and they've already located the key to his return. With the Alliance and Horde devastated, adventurers must take up legendary artifacts and weapons used by the heroes of old, scour the ancient Broken Isles for relics of the Titans, and challenge the Burning Legion before Azeroth's last hope dies. Following the events of Warlords of Draenor, the alternate Draenor's Gul'dan is expelled by his demonic masters into the original Azeroth with a special purpose, to reopen the Tomb of Sargeras and the Gateway to Argus, commencing the third invasion of the Burning Legion, an invasion even greater than the War of the Ancients. Gul'dan also had to find and steal the body of the famous demon hunter, Illidan Stormreach. After the defeat at the Broken Shore, the defenders of Azeroth found themselves exploring the long-forgotten Broken Shores in search of the Pillars of Creation. Titan relics are used to shape the world, and which were Azeroth's only hope for closing the massive demonic portal at the heart of the tomb. However, the Broken Isles, a land which 10,000 years ago was home to the then mighty Night Elf civilization, came with their own perils to overcome, from the Demon Lord Xavius and his Satyr armies, to the Vrykul's God King Skovod, to the powerful Nightborn Night Elves, and the deadly Naga led by Tide Mistress Athissa. As part of this desperate search, the Kirin Tor, now led by Khadgar, moved the floating city of Dalaran to the shores of this land, with the city serving as a central hub for the efforts of the world's heroes. The Death Knights of Akris also took their floating necropolis to the Isles. To defend their world against the onslaught of the Legion, the heroes of Azeroth sought out legendary artifact weapons to wield in battle, but also found themselves embracing new and unexpected allies in the form of the Illidari, Illidan's elite disciples, freed in desperation by the Wardens that guarded them to fight against the Legion in its hour of need, where Night Elves and Blood Elves can become Demon Hunters, and there's a whole storyline related to Demon Hunters and their integration into the game, which is pretty cool. Ongoing conflict between the Alliance and Horde led to the formation of the class orders, with exceptional commanders putting aside faction to lead their classes in the fight against the Legion. We then have the Battle for Azeroth expansion, where Azeroth paid a terrible price to end the apocalyptic march of the Legion's crusade, but even as the world's wounds are tended, it is a shattered trust between the Alliance and Horde that may prove the hardest to mend. In Battle for Azeroth, the fall of the Burning Legion sets off a series of disastrous incidents that reignites the conflict at the heart of the Warcraft saga. As a new age of warfare begins, Azeroth's heroes must set out on a journey to recruit new allies, race to claim the world's mightiest resources, and fight on several fronts to determine whether the Horde or Alliance will lead Azeroth into its uncertain future. Whoever wins the coming war will likely win the dying world thanks to the Burning Legion. Magni Bronzebeard reached out to the faction leaders and was rebuffed. So Magni turns to the adventurers, needing help to save the world, and these chosen ones will receive a gift from the Titan herself. An epic war campaign arc is woven throughout entire questing areas, where this expansion really focuses a lot on kind of like some ancient Titan stuff, but also the war between the Alliance and the Horde. And this expansion also saw the introduction of allied races to the game, where we kind of see that they are playable races that are smaller in scope compared to like normal races, but allow a level of customization and player identity for different people. Where then we have Shadowlands. The veil between life and death is no more. With a single act of destruction, Sylvanas Windrunner has ripped open the way to the afterlife. Azeroth's staunchest defenders have been dragged into an all-consuming darkness. An ancient force of death threatens to break its bonds and unravel reality. Hidden realms of wonder and horror await any who would pass to the other side. The Shadowlands is home to an entire realm of the departed. It is a world between worlds whose delicate balance preserves life and death itself. As one of Azeroth's greatest champions, you have been granted the power to cross over in body and soul. Now you must investigate a conspiracy to unmake the cosmos and help Warcraft legends journey back or fulfill their ultimate destiny. And then finally, we have Dragonflight, where the Dragonflights of Azeroth have returned, called upon to defend their ancestral home, the Dragon Isles. Surging with elemental magic and the life energies of Azeroth, the Isles are awakening once more, and it's up to you to explore their primordial wonder and discover long-forgotten secrets, where this expansion focuses a lot around the Dragonflights and then some new kind of like ancient stories in the Warcraft universe that kind of just all relate to the idea of like the Titans and like the Keepers and stuff like that. And this story helps set up the story going into the World Soul Saga, with the first expansion being the War Within and the next two expansions that we see thereafter that we will get into. But now that we have explored all of the expansions in World of Warcraft, something not great has happened, where I was adventuring through the lands of Ashenvale, and as some of you may have noticed by the title and the thumbnail of this video, this is the last episode in this Let's Play series, because I journeyed over here in Ashenvale and I went to fight Titrus and the other water elementals around here, and this is a fight that I have never really had an issue with ever in my life, where I have fought Titrus many times, and I don't think I've ever died to her before or to any of the water elementals around here. I always have a really easy time here, but I learned that there is a reason why Titrus is the #1 deadliest enemy in Ashenvale, and why these other water elementals are the second most deadly in Ashenvale. Where, yes, we have now died at level 25 in Ashenvale, and I'm not super upset about this, but it is definitely sad to always die in hardcore and to lose our characters. I think the aspect that I'm a little bit more sad with is that Majestic is now dead forever, our special pink plane strider that has been alongside with us for most of our leveling experience up to level 25. But I think we've had a pretty decent journey, and I kind of explored everything that I really wanted to explore, and everything else was kind of just some extra stuff, where of course we died over here, and that is again really sad, but this just means that we can go ahead and begin a new adventure here in the world of Azeroth on a brand new hardcore character after I explore a little bit more of the Season of Discovery after this episode. But I really do hope you all enjoyed watching this Let's Play series, because I've had fun this last few episodes, and I hope you all are taking good care of yourselves. Remember, as always, to drink some water, check your posture, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time in the world of Azeroth. Goodbye.